Female Entrepreneurs Worldwide is the largest platform for women in Asia with the mission to broaden the female fellow access to support. And we connect members to successful leaders and industry experts through learning and networking. And the project of hashtag Ask Few Everything is a series of online mentoring sessions when your members can connect and get engagement directly. As I said, today's theme is very, very interesting. How to attract famous brands to collaborate with your business. And our main speaker is Nini Marini. She's coming from Malaysia. She's connecting. She has collaborated with a lot of famous brands such as Ralph Lauren, Epson, Nike, Tom's, Fendi, and Piaget. And she's currently a full-time artist. She's building her business and wants to go to success. She's been a self-taught painter, and she likes exploring with different mediums, such as ceramic, textiles, metals, and even AI, artificial intelligence. And before we start, I would like to say again a great thank you for the support of JCI Hong Kong JCTs and their president, Vinci Wong. Thank you very much for your great support. Remember, raise your hand or tap your question in the question button to ask anything to our speaker. So now it's time to start. Let's welcome with the big online applause our speaker, Nini Marini.
Hello. Wait, hang on.
She's coming. Hi, Nini. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. Everything is well. And hello, everybody. I can't see you all, but there's like 28 people here. So hello, everybody here. Thank you so much for joining.
That's super, super good to see you. And before we started, for our members and attendees to know, we were having a conversation backstage, and I was so happy to see the energy and that comes through an 2D online medium from Nini, being an artist, but it's just so great to see that from one of our members. And I'm sure everybody's feeling the same. So thank you very much for that great energy.
Thank you. I try. It's hard in the 2D space, but you try because you're happy and the energy can come through, I suppose.
Exactly. And also the colors, I'm sure that helps. And I'm sure some of our attendees are going to be asking you some questions about your background, your attire. I'm very, very curious. But one of our first questions, I'm sure that our attendees have thought about this. We're going to talk about how to collaborate with big brands. And before we had the opportunity to meet people face to face, and perhaps it was a little bit easier to have this connection, but now we have to also think about the online space. Mm-hmm. So one of our first questions submitted from our members is, you being a creative entrepreneur, how did you build a good foundation for your brand? Like, how do you start?
Short answer, relationships. I really made friends with a lot of people, and I went on ground. We were, before COVID, we were able to, and this was back in the day, 2005, I would like to say. And I was still working in media at the time. And what I did was I said yes to all kinds of invitations. So, any kind of invitation I would get. And my in was the fashion industry, because I have a relationship with fashion. I love fashion as well. And I used to attend a lot of events, and I kept on going. So, brands love consistency, and brands love people who are consistent. So I soon became a very familiar face to them. Maybe as a socialite, I hate that word, but it was my in, and a lot of them is like, oh, Nini's there and she's friendly. And when I was there, I threw myself into society, and I threw myself into conversation, and I started talking to a lot of people. And I think that was like the biggest thing that I could have done. And it took me it was like a year of this, going to all kinds of events, and sooner the invitations started coming, and I was just attending all kinds of fashion events. And in those situations, you will then meet brands, you will then meet PR people. Some of them will grow to become your friends, And I think that was, and every time I met them, I laid down my story. My story was always consistent, which was that I am somebody who's working and dreaming to be an artist. So this is 2005, and I had this like, and in the media space, I was also sort of out there as well. You know, I was oftentimes on television and in print for reasons of as a producer. So I think during that period, a lot of like media has crossed over and they realize, hey, this girl's also in fashion and this girl's in media, and they start piecing this sort of story together about me. And sooner or later, I became the it girl. I hate that, but in Asia, if you want to get yourself out there, it's really quite simple as being available and attending all these events. So being that person, then they invited me to be featured in their society lists. And those were really important. Top 40, top, as emerging artist, emerging person to watch. I made a lot of those lists, which proved to be really, really useful for me. And I think once they knew who I was, like in that capacity, a lot of them then went deeper and started asking me more about what my real story is. And again, that I was known, eventually branded as corporate artist, I think. Somebody working in the corporate, but was also a creative person on the side. And I think people started really taking note of me when I started my creative collaborations with the luxury brands. That's when the story changed from Nini being the society girl to Nini being this corporate person with this artistic side, which became a unique story for me as well as for them, and I think that was the foundation of how I started.
That's great. And that connects to our next question, which is how do you get noticed by the brands? But you actually already answered that. You say yes more, be present, don't be fearful about it, and have a consistent story. Your storytelling is super important. So to pivot that question, I would like to ask you, when do you know the limit or the line between saying yes all the time versus the no? Because I feel a lot of people, we are afraid of saying no, but sometimes also as entrepreneurs, it's important to delimit that no part where we can't go further because it might burn ourselves or it might damage something that we couldn't deliver.
I totally agree. And actually, I would like to correct myself because I didn't really say yes to everything. What I said was, why not? And the reason why I said why not is a different idea, because why not is if somebody's coming to me and said, hey, Nini, would you like to be on a billboard for next to nothing? I was like, why? Because I, at the time, working in media and they wanted me to model. And I was free at that time. I didn't have anything better to do. It was a new adventure. Why not? So I approached this in a lot of my projects with a sense of curiosity and a sense of like, wonder, like what would happen if I said why not to this situation. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no either. I'm giving it a go. And I really had that mindset for a few years. And I didn't turn down things, but what happened for me is one why not led me to another that was in the same vein. And I believe it's because of the story that I told them. It was my consistent story, and they knew that if they're talking to me, they could either talk to me about media or they could talk to me about art or fashion. Those were really, really important to carve out what you represent as a brand, because then that's the go-to. And I know that I said the importance of network and creating relationships, right? But I think choosing how you appear on media is also another key thing about how you want to get noticed. So I got printed a lot in the past through magazine publications. I love magazines because they really do interview you and they take the time to understand your story, and then it's printed and you're like, they take photos of you and your whole image looks very nice and glossy. And I had a whole variety of magazines and print newspapers that I worked with, and I wanted to say that do be open to all kinds of media. You go for your mass and also go for your niche. Even with mass, you can find your niche within your mass. And because I did that, I think, and because I appeared in media in two capacities, which is media and artist, or no, media and fashion, they started getting to know me, and they would be inviting me back to either do some of the specials. So I think it's really important for you to brand yourself and to be seen in a variety of medias, and not just in the target that you think you should be. I think that can be fine tuned as you go in, but for the initial, for brands to know you, and that is the strategy. You do need to be seen in places where they would more likely read the newspapers, and
Yeah.
those kind of things, and have your little interviews with these publications, and be consistent. And so my messages were always consistent: creativity, working woman, dreaming big, trying to be an artist, and trying to figure it all out. And then they start getting notice of you, and they start noticing you because you work with good brands. So the people that you work with is really important. Who you associate yourself with, that's really important for other brands to notice. And I kind of lucked out a little bit with my whole journey with Fendi, because that really put me on the map, and Fendi gave me such a great story that a lot of people just woke up, like you, especially in the fashion industry. They were like, who is this girl, and why is she, like, painting a Fendi bag for 100th anniversary? Those are the headlines, and it sounds really big, although the projects may be small, but to you, when you write it in print, it sounds larger than life, and it sounds like, wow, you did that with Fendi? Yeah, I totally did it with Fendi. And uh, the thing is, you need to also be genuine and authentic about the approach. Like I said, do why not, but not because you're saying it because somebody told you to just say why not, but because you're entering it with a sense of, again, curiosity and wonder, and like just adventure, because that sort of translates into the project and how you are going to bring that out for the collaboration.
I love all these words, and we should keep these words in mind: curiosity and adventure. Don't be afraid. And that hits two big points. You're saying that we need to have an open perspective and don't be afraid to showcase everything that we can do. Like, be a little bit more, I love this new world, being multi-potential, like, fashion and artist and corporate, and you are so many, many things. And also, don't be afraid to utilize your relationships, the ones that you have built with a lot of your work, right? If you have someone in Fendi that and that's how you landed the job, why not? I feel that a lot of us entrepreneurs have that fear of, oh, I'm not going to ask my friend or what have you. So my question connected to the members' question will be like, how do you secure the brands to collaborate with you? But also, how do you channel one? If you are a multi-potentialite, the fear of saying, if I show everything, it might be confusing. Should I go through the one-liner and do what I do best one at a time, and then from there I grow? Or should I throw myself into everything and utilizing those relationships? So do you think that will help you secure more collaboration with brands?
I don't know, like at the start, and that's a really good question, because at the start of this whole thing, I think I started with the intention that I would like to just change lanes from being corporate to an artist. And my dream, and I think my biggest thing, was I need to build a creative portfolio, and I need to work with people who are willing to explore with me. And I think positioning it with that intention leads you to build the right connections with the brands that have this affinity with you. So I guess I didn't really throw myself and say that I'm media, I'm this, because it can sound as if you're like you're cocky or arrogant that you can do so many things. But I had a sense of mystery because people wondered about me. And I think that eventually organically, and my journey with PR started 2004, even earlier than that, 1999. That's as early as that. And I think it's been a very slow burn for me, but it's also why my brand has been able to stay on. It's not like super like, oh, I'm not the Fendi, but I'm consistent, and I still get the invites like now, because of the fact that my story has sort of an evolution, and people can follow the story, and I think that's really important. how do I initiate and secure the collaboration? Again, it's like having a conversation. It's conversation. So I think you have to practice the art of conversation. And in my case, I'm really shy by nature. If you don't really believe me, I am. Yeah, it's true. But to get myself maneuver myself around the situation, I again walked in with curiosity, and I would ask so many questions. I would ask them, how did you do this? And I ask them sometimes weird questions. And even like I remember asking questions to like the head of Fendi, and he was like, from Rome, and he was quite taken aback because I was going, where are you going to display these Fendi bags after we're done, and then like where do you get your materials from? So even for him, he remembers because you are actually asking them questions, and you're making yourself known, kind of thing. So I think conversation is really important, and you have to be super genuinely interested in whatever that the brand is kind of sharing with you. I think that is really important. And then later on, as you are going along life, have inviting them or like having lunches. And for me, it all happened quite genuinely because I really liked this PR person. I really like this brand person, or even during the process of creating the collaboration, we built a relationship, and you give a lot of yourself to the project, some sense of vulnerability, and sharing that with somebody else humanizes the situation, and it just nurtures the relationship even further. I think in Asia especially, we're often very guarded, and we think that there is a template to everything, and that is also my case in my case too. And I think when somebody says, okay, we got to do this, it seems quite forced, and I think you need to really dig deep within your brand to know what the purpose and why you want to approach them, why you're doing the collaborations, because anything calculated, brands can see right through it. Yeah, so that's kind of the thing. How do you secure and trust? Basically, that's what it is.
Showing,
Conversation.
showing that you really care. And that could start by researching who are you going to meet, and finding something else that it's not only on the superficial level. Maybe you have a connection, certain type of thing that you both like, that it's over that professional level. One big question.
Sorry, I just wanted to also say that, when they say secure collaboration, it really is quite a transactional thing. And the way I have had my collaborations have been quite serendipitous in a way. And I know that it's quite a word that it's timing. And again, when you lay down that foundation, you can expect it to only fruit in 2 or 3 years or even 1 year like that. So I think the most important thing is to have as many conversations as you can in the initial, so that it happens, in a manner that it's not too like you're waiting for that one thing to come through, type of thing.
Correct. Yes, you're right. I really like that pivoting of the one word, because it also makes a difference, the choices of words that we have. One of the big things that the audience, I'm sure they are thinking about, and we're always, it's a little bit frustrating to start thinking, how do I ask to get paid? How do I negotiate with these big brands? Because they might feel a little bit scary. They're already established. I'm the newcomer, perhaps different points of views, but you really have to start that conversation early to build something, for also have a business that is going to be profitable. So how did you start those negotiations back then with the big brands to get paid?
Let's straight off the bat, fashion luxury brands try not to pay at all for any collaborations. I'm just saying outright, but because their positioning is that it truly is a partnership between two individuals. We're representing you for a reason because you're with our brand. So their value and how they regard themselves in such, and also during my period, influencer or even sort of like this type of personality driven campaigns were not something normal. So it wasn't entirely in their little budgets to do it. So I often fell under the whole PR exercise or marketing sort of exercise budgets. So with the fashion brands, you kind of look the other way, and if they're going to give you a Fendi bag for your troubles, then you're just going to say thank you very much for this Fendi bag for your troubles, because it's an energy exchange. But eventually, after all the luxury brands, and when I started branching out to the or I would say the commercial brands like the likes of Nikon and Epson, and these people, they approach it in a very business-like manner. And of course, they love the whole idea of creativity and being innovative. But when you negotiate with them, I think the best thing is I often share with them the value of my time versus what my rates are like, and I calculate and I just throw it on the table and then say, this is what I want to do. But I frame it in a manner, it's like, for this project, this is what I propose to do, and this is what I think I will be needing for the tools, and this is my time. And then I don't put the figure just yet. I send it back to them, and then they ask to do a conversation to find out more about the idea, and then we talk about the budget. That's when I put up my figure. And if they really force me to, I was like, fine, it's going to be X amount. And then they say, oh, we can't do it for this one. And that's when you negotiate part payment, part value, and what they can bring. So for instance, Epson was such a great collaboration for me because, not only did they give me PR exposure, they also funded my entire exhibition, which was amazing for me. And they connected me to so many so many local printers and manufacturers, which made me go into textiles for a while and explore that area. So I think it really is that. And Nikon came from, it was a Southeast Asian project, and they paid me in USD, which was amazing, and the exposure was international as well. So there are a few ways. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, it's about balance, and you are saying to tailor also your proposals, the ideas and the project, and also the budget, perhaps, to not only what they are getting out of your value, but what's the value that you're getting out of that collaboration, and if that connects with your own mission and vision in the way that you want to grow the business.
Sorry. We have a question.
We have a question from the audience. Yuki Wong, she's asking, how are you coping with COVID-19 so far, as Malaysia is now suffering from MCO again? Any change your plans with your brand collaborations?
Oh, for sure. In this area, I've been thinking about it since the first lockdown, which is last March, to go into my, I have a 10-year plan. So my last stretch was to look into education and to see how I can go into that area. And so I started exploring online education, how I can teach art. I was also doing a lot of workshops, but I realized that the money that you get from one art shop for a child is not going to be conducive. So I think the online space is really good for me, and to have workshops, but to have quality workshops, the quality education. So I'm doing a Nini Marini Pro series hopefully soon, where I will be teaching people the art of surface pattern design, color theory, and things like that. So that's me moving away from just being product driven. So I will still continue painting originals, but I will not be manufacturing at this point in time because it doesn't make sense for now, which is why I'm having a sale soon so that I can open up my studio space to allow more things to come in. But so that's where I'm going. I'm also going to be sort of teaching people how to do creative thinking. And it's really targeted to people who I used to be, like the person I used to be in corporate, but I've shoved art way down in the drawer somewhere, and I'm not able to think outside of even pivoting, even the idea of pivoting. People don't know how to do it. From my friends or the people that I know, just how do you pivot? What is pivot, and how can you pivot? Because I'm only a producer, and that's all I know how to do, or I'm only a writer for theater. What else can I do? They don't know that they can go online to be a transcriber. They can do all these other things because of the fact that creative thinking is so stifled here in Malaysia, in Asia. So I'm pursuing this idea of being able to talk about creativity. I'm doing this on IG. I've been experimenting, and hopefully something will come through. So it's like in the training area. I would love to train people to be more creative.
Oh, that's lovely. I like that idea. I'm raising my hand for that.
Oh gosh.
Yes, yes, please. We need more of that in the world. We need creative thinking and looking at different perspectives. And for that, our next question really, really connects to that. And I have some thumbs up coming up on the screen. Thank you. Yeah, if you like it, raise your hand again. When you have brand collaboration, I'm sure you have had a lot of challenges. And you were just talking about that. This pivoting is one of your challenges. But how have you come through these challenges? What was your perspective on what made you change perhaps from a mindset of, oh, this is so hard as a challenge to, okay, I'm going to get something positive out of this?
During the this is still talking about COVID
Yeah,
and
in
how.
general, we can talk about in
Oh,
general with any collaborations you have had in the
oh, with
past.
other collaborations. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I have faced a lot of times when we go into a collaboration and we say, yes, we're going to do this project this way. And then when it comes down to time of presentation or the deadline, the client sort of like changes his tune or her tune a little bit because they get panicky about their own deliverables. And then they start asking you to change your art piece or try to change the project midway. To that, I take it as a challenge because I'm already working. I can't like kick up my, I can't stamp my foot about it, And so to those, I have had to complete them, but it was a lesson to really ensure that we are truly aligned at the start and that we can't change halfway. But I made it a point to finish those projects and finish it well, finish it with good attitude, because they're going to remember that time they struggled with me and I got them out of it. So I think that's really important. So I have had clients asking me to inject logos and put, I mean, I can do if you want me to express my art with different colors, that's fine. But when you ask me to put objects into it or different logos or specific positioning, that's when it gets a little bit heartbreaking for me. But to that one, I just, breathe a little bit, flip my brain. Oh, it's not collaboration, it's actually a commission. And so once I know that that's the project, then I just get up and go. And then after that, during reflection time, I can just go moving forward. Let's not do that again. But I think the biggest lesson here is just persevere, keep on doing it, finish it well, please, and be courteous at all times. The client has had a change of heart. There's so many things that they did. There's so many things on the line for them for creating this collaboration with you. And so maybe their story is a little bit heavier on their side as well. So I think that part of my corporateness understands that and negotiates that and just go, okay, I get that too. Don't worry. We're in this together. I think that attitude is far more valuable and it comes out better for you as a collaborator because you can then continue on because they know it wasn't what you spoke about, and then it's because of the fact that you did it and you tried your best. And I think that really will reflect in their recall value.
That's such a great insight because a lot of people that are in the creative industries and that they are entertainers or creatives themselves, we have that little of the dramatic side of, oh, my vision, it's been changed, or my ideas, how to let go. So that's a great way to see it. Also understand that they have their own challenges and perhaps they're not being that personal. It's just the collaboration is personal, but where they're coming from might not be all the time. So I really like that.
And you know what? We have to rise above it, right? We're creative people. And so they are not necessarily as creative as you. And so you need to give them the solution. Oftentimes that really pays off. And your attitude is the one that's going to secure you your next job, because maybe not with that client, but they're going to say, you know what, working with her was really easy and we did this, but you should try her out. I've had a lot of recommendations like that as well before because of my relationships with the brands.
Yeah, correct. In Asia, it's the power of networking and the relationships of what people say about you.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. And for
Great.
that, I would like to know, what are the do's and don'ts when you have to discuss a collaboration with a big brand? Like, if
Okay.
you were to give us some tricks.
Okay. First off, it's really important for you to have your story prepared. You do your profile kit, you're with your literature, take your time to do it. I've rewritten and written. I've even asked somebody to edit it down for me to make sure that they have a landing page, a go-to place for them to refer to after your conversation with them. At least they know. So this will help frame the discussion. So first of all, do that. Make sure that you're searchable and that you have literature about yourself. So do listen and understand what they want, Think of their campaigns before your needs.
Mhm.
So that's what you need to do. Listen and understand exactly what they want to achieve. Ask all the questions you want. And you mentioned this, do research. Research as much as you can about that brand before your meeting, but don't just regurgitate what you learn. I've heard that before as well. I've seen that happen. You go, oh, and it becomes really forced. So have that as like your background, your tool that you can pull out every so often, and also how you can outline potential ideas and projects, so that you can pick up their buzzwords and say, hey, I'd like to do this because it's quite innovative, and they're like, ooh, that word, because it's in their copy to be innovative, right, as a brand. And be realistic and honest about your deliveries, like, and what you can do. So that means you need to know your own timelines and what you can produce. Like, I know, if you want me to do a painting, it's going to take me at least a week. Or if you want me to do an illustration, 2 or 3 days. So your deliverables and how clear you are really important. And then give it a stretch. So if it's 3 days, add another two, because things happen. So be realistic about that. I mentioned being cooperative and being super collaborative. That's super important. Proactive and imaginative. That's important to have, like, oh, you thought about this. Why don't you spin it out this way and think about, and then oftentimes brands be like, oh, I never thought about that way. And most of all, enthusiastic. Because really, that's what it is. It's about you entering this with a certain kind of energy, and then you want them to be open like a flower. So, you have to come in and don't be like some kind of artist and say, yeah, this is what I want to do. No, I mean, like, you're proactive, you're sitting in front, you're listening diligently. Okay. So do not try to instill your ideals into the brand. Like, do not, like, I just think it's rude. It's like, you already did your research. You are in this at this stage already in a meeting with the brand of your dreams, and suddenly trying to put your thoughts into this brand that's much older than you. That's just not something you should do, at least from the first meeting. Maybe when you're a little bit more innovative with them, maybe that's something that you can visit. But don't tell them what to do. Like, you can suggest. Please
Mm.
suggest. Please be polite and courteous about that, but don't tell them what to do or how to do it, because they've done it better than you before. So, I go in with that sort of, it's a very Asian way of doing it, I guess, is that polite, like Japanese, very listen to the culture, and then react. Don't laugh at their campaign.
Does
So
that
yeah.
happen to you? Like,
Oh
people
no,
laugh?
people are snigger, like they physically react to the campaign in front
Yeah.
of the client. I've seen that happen. So please don't do that. And most of all, don't think you're the only one. That's important. So I think having that mindset is really key, because then it just frames you and frames what you need to do in life to secure this collaboration. A little bit more competition.
That is so true. It's important to be humble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also just wanted to add that, you need to know why you're collaborating. So I think it's really important to have personal clarity about your brand and what your purpose is, what your goals, and it's important for you to share them so that they're aligned. That's often very true for collaborations I've done, co-productions with television shows before, and it's the same principle. Once you're aligned, the conversation becomes very easy. But that conversation is really a question of, like, what do you like? Oh, this is what I like. What do you like? And once you're aligned, then going into and creating a collaborative creative project becomes a lot easier. And what you want to achieve, what do you want to achieve in this particular project? Is it brand building? Is it strategic? Is it a friendly collaboration? Is it a passionate collaboration? Is it for your portfolio? What are you doing it for? And don't expect the client to answer all your questions. You need to understand why you're doing it to begin with.
Yeah. And that connects, that's such a beautiful way to round it up to the very beginning when you were saying, yeah, let's say yes, but also with a reason behind it. So we don't get tangled into a project that perhaps it's not going to be for us. And that's when you funnel and decide and can choose. Thank you for that insight. It's been always the energy. I can feel it. It's so great. And before we open the floor to our members and attendees, I already have a hand raised. I just want to remind everyone to go to the new Few webpage where you can market your business, have a coffee with the CEOs, and get and find resources like today's online session. Our first hand raised, and again, remember everyone, don't be shy. You can come up the stage and ask the question yourself to Nini Marini. We have Rachel. She's requested to ask a question for you. And after that, we already have a second one.
Okay, great.
Perfect. So my question is, how do you attract famous brands while also being authentic to your brand and your truth? And then how do you ensure your values come through within your collaborations?
I think it's all about like making sure that your story is genuine and that your messages are always consistent. And how I approach things have always been with a sense of like, it's never premeditated. It's just like how I wish, dear universe, that this is going to happen for me. And then that's how I attract the brands to me, really.
Perfect. Great answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, for that question.
Thank you, Rachel. We have a second member raising her hand. Siddiq, you want to come on stage and ask a question to Nini Marini?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, I'm Shah. I'm from Malaysia.
Yes.
I have a question for Nini. I'm so sorry. I'm a little bit shy.
Okay.
Joining this platform. So I'm still a student. So I'm about to do my PR internship with I'm sorry. I'm about to do my PR internship with Alia Bastama, Malaysian brand. I'm so excited. And I also own a fashion brand focusing on crochet art, handmade clothing. So I would love to ask your advice, Nini, on how do I go to pursue my PR career and at the same time expand my brand as well. Thank you so much.
Perfect question. And I'm going to reach down to like younger Nini back in the day when I started off in sports production and I was going to be an artist. Please don't be afraid that your art is not going to go anywhere. But while you're working in PR for Alia Bastamam, who's a really good friend of mine, give it your all and give it all that you have to service her business and her work. And whatever that you're doing at the time is purely to learn. And as you're doing your crochet business, you might want to think of putting that on pause because you need to concentrate on the current mission, which is to do this work in PR. You are on a road of learning, and I was in media for 20 years before I decided to go into art because we're living in a world where it is practical for you to have many skill sets. So while you're working for Alia, make sure that you work 100%, give it your all, and use everything that you learn from her as tools that you can apply to later on. And you also should share with Alia that this is your passion too, but make sure that she understands that you come first before her and your job, she comes first before your work because she's spending time to nurture and give you experience, and she's a very talented designer that way. Shah, I hope that answers your question. So on the side, on Saturdays and Sundays, whenever you're free, continue doing it, but nurture it. There's no rush because right now, the most important from what I can see is that you need to carve a career for yourself in PR. So there's no rush for you to jump into the crochet art world at the moment. Know that the timing has to be right for you and your artwork to happen. So as long and you should never get into a job work like art without a community. So build on that community while you're working, build your social media, build your following, put up your work, and don't put so much emphasis on the business portion. What you need to do is make art and explore how far you can take that crochet, because that's going to set you aside. Everybody can crochet, but what is a sharp crochet compared to another person's work?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for the advices.
Okay.
That's all from me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Cha. Thank you for the question.
That was very good. Thank you for your questions. Remember, we can still have some time to ask more questions to Nini. And before we get more questions from the members, I have a question myself.
Okay.
You were saying you like trying with different mediums.
Yeah.
I understand textiles, and I want you to tell me about your textiles later. But the first one, what really, really interested me was AI, artificial intelligence. How do you test and collaborate with brands in artificial intelligence?
Well, again, it was really interesting how it all started. I was approached by women techpreneurs who is based out in Malaysia, and they have an affiliation with Google. So the collaboration was they had asked me to lend my artwork to the project for the computer to learn how to paint it. So at first I thought, oh my God, I can't, that's like all kinds of infringement, intellectual property rights issues. Like how? That's my work. And I'm asking, like the idea is that the computer can learn my style and transfer it onto any surface. So that really freaked me out. But then I stopped myself and I said, okay, well, this is a really good time for me to learn this artificial intelligence. And so I did. And it was really amazing because I saw all these women techpreneurs, women techies, and they were just producing all these artworks, and they kept on saying, your art is so inspiring because now it's translated onto a cat or onto a piece of object. So it's really, for me, the takeaway from that project was like the ability for me to see how my art is expressed. And in the end, the computer could not replicate my work. There's no way. And the learning of that is that nuance comes into play. The computer cannot imitate your work or be you. So I think what it is another tool for an artist to explore. And I tell you what, that particular project took me on, like that was in 2019, and it happened in March of 2019. It took me away, and I went into the tech world for a while, and I was invited to 2 conferences, one in KL, Asia Big Tech Week, and I was the only artist in this loud clothing to talk about artificial intelligence and where is it going from here, and how are individuals applying it. And the other one was then to Indonesia for this conference, where it was the Minds conference, where it was a banking industry, also learning about artificial intelligence. And it was amazing for me to be able to share my thoughts of my projects and how it became human for me and what AI meant for me as a human being.
Wow. That's so interesting, because it shows that it's okay to not be afraid of something different that perhaps is not going to be for us, but it is very important to learn what's out there and what we can do with that specific element.
Yes.
We have one more attendee member raise her hand. Vinci Wong, please come here on stage.
Hi, Nini and Yamilette. Can you hear me?
Hi, Vinci. Nice to meet you. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. Actually, finally, I think I can meet you in person, because I've heard about the t-shirt waving class before, and I was always think, oh my God, it's so interesting. Like, I have so many t-shirts at home, and it's actually you, so it's wonderful experience. Well, actually, I would like to ask, it's about, because before you were in the corporate world, then you change and yourself into being an artist, doing something that you're passionate enough. But there's always a line, like doing art when you're free and doing art for life, like bread and butter. There might be pressures, and also when you partner with some corporates, you always have your own preferred style in your artwork pieces, but definitely some brands or some corporates, they may have their own thinking, interpretation about like how to modify your art a bit. How do you draw a line, keeping your own style yet also like meeting what their needs?
Okay. There's several questions in there. I'm going to try and answer them as best I can. But the first one is like, how do I manage myself, especially now that I'm an artist, and how do I make money as a full-time artist? That sort of like question, right? For me, is every artist, especially just for me, just personally, I believe in generating as many revenue streams as possible. And this is the corporate me in speaking. So I have several talents and skills that I can apply. And I've learned to define them. For instance, public speaking or training, that's one source of revenue. And the other one is probably working in media. So, working in a proper like content development project that actually is quite good and lucrative for me, and being a consultant in that area, and then being the artist, and then being the entrepreneur, which is to create products out of my art and also to create all my art classes. I think the ideal one is eventually when I can actually focus and have more. And so my game right now is to see what brings more money to me. And I'm going to focus on that one. So that's how I'm going to deal with this non-corporate job paying and having my own source of income. And the second one, where's the line? Where does the line that you draw when the collaborator wants to instill their ideas onto you? So to that answer, as an artist, I make sure that I have different styles in which I can apply to. So I have grown to know what kind of styles are commercial and what is applicable and relatable on a creative collaboration level. And so and with that particular style that I've developed, I'm able to be flexible and able to sort of like rejig things if I wanted to. My personal style, I leave it to myself and only to me, and that's an area that I close off and I shut off, because that's a style that those are my paintings, which I don't compromise on. I don't take commissions that I don't believe in. So those are the things that I set. So I leave there. As an artist, you must know your different skill sets and different mediums in which you know where you can manipulate or be good at. And at the moment, I'm a surface pattern designer, so I can do a lot of things and play with a lot of brand nuances in that area. Thank you for your question, Vinci. I hope that answers it.
Yes, thank you so much, Nini. I think it's all about your why not attitude. That's why you learn so many different kind of skill sets and you can apply it into different ways. It's especially under COVID, I think it's not that easy or like to change. And you've actually during COVID you changed your direction to more art education, like design thinking, but a very interesting and also innovative way. Thank you so much, Nini.
I wanted to add, Vinci, that I think it also comes from my background in media. My role was innovation, and it was all about creating content that was not commercial and not yet. And so I was the one that was developing ideas that was outside the box and then bringing it to a stage of commercialization. And then I think that mindset and that skill set was definitely useful for me to apply to my own way and to my own art.
Great. Thank you so much, Nini. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Vinci and obviously to Nini for her answer. And you were talking about innovation and making things work. And we're obviously very curious from the situation that we are all facing in this day and age. How do you make true collaborations translate through the online meetings? Because when you are trying to get a new collaboration, I'm sure that now you're doing it a lot with online meetings. Do you know is it truth? And how can you show your authenticity when you're doing these collaborations online?
Oh, that's such a tough question. Way to go for the last tough question. To answer your question, I have not entered a creative collaboration online per se yet. What I have been getting is a lot of invitations to participate in short social experiments on Instagram. And I think a lot of them approach me because, again, I told you that you needed a landing page with all your information. So they tap me and they understand. And I'm very surprised that even before meeting me in person, they already know something about me. Like, for instance, Vinci heard about my art Airbnb stuff. And you know why? The Airbnb gave me a headline, which was amazing. I was Malaysia's first Airbnb online experiences host. And that happened only because everybody dropped out and I was the only woman standing that said, okay, I'll be the Airbnb host. So I think that's really important for me to sort of like keep in mind.
I got a thumbs up from that one.
Yeah.
It was a tough question, but great answer. And I don't want to leave you with that. I'm sure if there's anybody else, I want to leave you with something that is softer for you to answer.
Oh, no. I like it. It was really good because I too am quite curious how we're going to approach this online. I mean, like the biggest thing for now. That's why meeting people, like new people, like Few community, I'm so thankful for, because I'm meeting different people online and I'm meeting you online, you know, and having this relationship with you on screen. So I think I can only expect more things to come in these conversations because it's new relationships. So my next mission really is to make as many friends as I can online in different communities and see how I can grow from there. And also maybe reach out to other friends online and do my own self-initiated collaborations just to get the ball rolling and to show people that we can do something that's interactive and that it's engaging on both ends.
Yeah, starting with a community that it's safe and we have like-minded ladies. And I'm sure everybody that's attended this event have very, very truthful intentions and are very interested in what they are listening about. I want to ask you about your background and your attire, because I can see beautiful, colorful art at the back, and you're also wearing it. So tell us about it.
I don't know. I can't see the widescreen, so I don't know how far you can see. But if you, this one on your left is I don't know. I'm ambidextrous. I get so confused.
It's from my point of view, I see it on my right. So
this one, correct. This one on your right will be a drawing that I did for my husband. He's a rapper in Malaysia, Joe Flizzo, and he had a music festival, and he asked me to do a freestyle painting while the music was on. So I kind of freestyled this girl in swirls, she's dancing away. So and he obviously liked it and he kept it. And at the time we were dating and I didn't know whether I was gonna marry him or not, but he kept it. And this one is called Joan Jett. And again, it was like a portrait that I did back when I was dreaming of being an artist. I did this long time ago. And when it came to my first exhibition, again, Joe, my then boyfriend, came and he picked up this painting. It was an important painting for me because I had projected so many things and I had him in mind. And he has a knack of picking all these paintings that has my intentions for him in it. So, you know, I think it's now we're married, it's in our house, and and because I had to do this, I was grabbing it from wherever it was before. So it's just so that I can make my background a little bit more palatable for you. And what I'm wearing, right? So I'm an aspiring surface pattern designer. I have actually participated in Surtex New York, and this is a pattern that I did based on my painting. It's called the Peacock, and part of my learning is to work with a surface pattern designer and create an all-over repeated print. And I turned them into what I call the Marini Complementary Collection. I have coveralls and shrugs, and I just throw it on, and it's meant to complement your existing wardrobe and add vibrance to your life. That's kind of the idea for this collection.
That's great, because as you're saying, you just can put it on and you already look wonderful. As Vinci and Chitra, they're saying wonderful. It's beautiful work that you have.
So much,
like this when you were talking about your paintings on the screen. So I'm sure the members are really happy to hear about your own story. And as you were saying throughout the whole session, it's about being consistent. And you are creating a scenario where we are happy to ask questions and to know more about you because it's everywhere.
Thank you so much, Yamilette. Yeah, I nearly called you Yami because of our early conversation. I have a Yamilette. But thank you. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I didn't know what to expect, and I'm so happy that we had questions, and I'm so happy to meet everybody here. I'm so inspired by all of you here. I was quite intimidated because it's not a big thing. It's a thing calling myself creative entrepreneur when I haven't got like a lot of buckaroos behind me to show it. But it's an aspiration that I would love to go, and I would love to talk to and engage with any one of you who think that you can add to my business or anything like that. So yeah, I'm open to conversation.
That's definitely a great place to start. Yuki Wong is also saying, love your works. And as everybody knows, you can connect with the Few members and the Few team throughout the webpage, the platform, social media. They are everywhere. And whenever we have any other sessions, and that reminds me that tomorrow we already have another session with Dr. George Lam. He's the chairman of Cyberport Hong Kong, and he's going talking about how can you benefit from growth of the Greater Bay Area over 1.6 US trillion GDP and 72 million population. So please RSVP. And I'm sure we're going to have greater sessions in the upcoming months of the year. And please connect with Nini Marini. I'm sure I'm going to be doing it with the Few team and everybody here in the session. I'm very, very happy to see you. If there's no many other questions, we have agrees and yes, and that we need more of these sessions and creative energy and people outside in the world, in our entrepreneur world. Thank you very much again, Nini Marini and the Few team for organizing today. If there's no other questions or raise hands, I'll let you to continue your Thursday. Thank you very much. I'm Yamilette. I'm very happy to be your host today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.